Everybody, welcome to the final round of Season 2 here in the Intelligence Racing League. And the Division 1 titles might have been sewn up last time around, but I can assure you we will still have a fantastic race at the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache, round 19 out of 19. It is the Brazilian Grand Prix. And if you weren't with us last time around, it was a fantastic victory by Connor, his second win in a row, but all the attention was on the man in second position in the race. It was Daniel who took the victory and with it secured the championship. His rival Just As needed to beat him by 7 points to have any chance of taking the championship to the final round, I should say. And in the end, Daniel's second place was good enough to secure it, but some good results from Just As and from his teammate Mr. Pop XL did ensure that Racing Point have gone home with the Constructors' Championship, and we'll see who can end the season on a high then around this Brazilian Grand Prix circuit. First used way back in 1973, quite a bit longer then than it is now. It got chopped down in the late 80s while Formula 1 was having a few years break from Interlagos here in Sao Paulo over to the Nelson Piquet Autodrome in Rio de Janeiro, and then it came back to this short layout which has been a mainstay on the Formula 1 calendar ever since the early 90s. Originally at the start of the season and the season opener quite a few times, and then it moved to the end of the season, and it just feels right to have a circuit as historic and as great racing as the Brazilian Grand Prix circuit to end the season. So we'll see who ends up coming out on top then in this qualifying session. Hello to Bullet Boy who's in the chat. He'll be hoping to end his season on a high, and he's gone out on the medium tyres as well, which is something a bit different to what we normally see in this qualifying session. It is always very possible around the Interlagos circuit that you could get a bit of rain, so drivers will have to be careful for that, of course, to try and ensure that they set their cars up right around this track. Quite a difficult track for the car setup, with two very fast sectors and a very slow and twisty middle sector, and we'll see how Mr. Pop can do then in the Racing Point. Currently fifth in the championship, only 3 points so off of Meadow in fourth, so he'll be aiming to take advantage of that absence as he breaks late into the Centre S, left, right, and then left again around turn 3. You get DRS on the pit straight, and you also get it on the back straight as well if you want to make an opportunity to an overtake down the Retro Aposta into turns 4 and 5. Decido, Delago, downhill braking zone here, very easy to run wide. You're then going back uphill again, heading towards the fast double apex right-hander here at Ferragora. Down a few gears into 6, flat out through the second part, and this is where the really twisty part of the circuit starts through Pinarino. Very easy to run wide there. You might see a few drivers taking multiple lines into Pico de Pato, where we saw, of course, Alex Albon have that incident with Lewis Hamilton. Flat through Magulo, trying to get the best possible one through there. Young Sour, crucial corner to start the final sector of the lap. You need the best exit possible, and it is now just flat out right towards the finish line. DRS opening now. We'll be very close to running out of ERS. Will Mr. Pop cutting across that pit line, hugging the pit wall, and it's a 106.683, a very respectable opening run then from the Racing Point driver in this qualifying session. McCrew goes into second originally. Ivan Bakker goes now into third place as Just As sets the fastest time of them all. So a very good time then to start this qualifying session. We'll see what Bullet Boy can do on the medium tyres in the Williams. Unsurprisingly, slowest of everyone at the moment. Only 7/10 off pole position. Not a bad time whatsoever. You will most likely be seeing one-stop strategies in this race. I imagine soft to mediums are what we will see the majority of the field go for. Not the biggest on tyre wear around here, although that middle sector, you do need to have good balance of the car and good traction through those slower corners. And those are quite a lot of drivers are heading out early in the session. We'll see what VRT Law can do in the Haas. And he managed to pick up a few more points this season. Has only picked up so far this season 19 points, but in the last 3 races he attended, he has scored some points with a best finish of 6th position at the Italian Grand Prix. He comes across the line now in 8th position. Got NERH reserving in a Mercedes tonight. We did see a Mercedes get on the podium. Amazingly, they're only their second podium of the season last time around with Harry, so they've had 2 podiums with 2 different drivers. Can NER with that mecha helmet. We are sometimes accused of Mercedes drivers of being a bit robotic with the dominance in real F1 this season. Any other just going slightly off track there. Did ace, so that will cost him. That's invalidated this lap. Will have enough time, though, to get around and set another one. XL Ryan, another driver to invalidate his first run. He's reserving for Menno de Veva tonight, and he heads straight into the pit lane. Still very early stages, like we said in this qualifying session, but it is a Racing Point 1-2 at this moment in time. And here's a man who you never quite know what you're going to get. Winner of the Singapore Grand Prix, we thought, as that was the first time anyone other than Justas had won a race, we thought we might even see a championship challenge from Chapalele. However, since that Singapore Grand Prix, he's only scored points twice more and has retired from the last 4 races he has attended. Are we going to get a good performance then from the German Chapalele this afternoon? Can he finish the season on a high? Maybe get a victory? Quite a few different drivers obviously winning this season. We have had 3 drivers take 3 victories so far this year. That is Daniel, Justas and Connor. Justas and Connor, the 2 only drivers that have done consecutive victories, and Connor in that Williams has really been the 4-man as of late. Just joined the league a bit too late to really have any say in the championship battle. Chapalele's keeping it nice and clean at this moment in time. Coming here around Pinarino, looking very tidy from the Red Bull driver. Has generally struggled in qualifying, has found himself starting near the back, and that's when always, if you're starting near the back, you're more likely to get yourself involved in incidents, especially if you're quicker than the cars around you. So he'll be hoping for a nice clean exit here from Young Sao. Getting on the power nice and early, no wheel spin, absolutely perfect. This looks like a very good lap from the Red Bull driver. He's gone into the Verstappen seat rather than the Albon seat to see if it brings him any more luck, and it looks to have done just a trick for Chapalele. Fastest man on circuit at the moment by 27 thousandths of a second. He will be very happy indeed with that time. Kazai just getting out of the way. VLT Laws decided to stay out and do another lap, but it didn't improve. So we've got Kazai and Ryan out on out laps at the moment. Ryan just getting out of the way of his teammate. And there's Ivan Bakker then starting a hot lap. He's been a pretty good driver, I think it's fair to say, so far this season. Feel like he could have easily got some better results if luck had just gone his way. 1 podium so far in America, now that he's in the Albon car, which some are saying might be slightly jinxed on this game, given the fact that Chapalele struggled so much in it. We'll have to see what Ivan Bakker can do at the moment. Babacar very cleverly getting well out of the way. He does not want to be anywhere near holding anyone up. It might be the last race of the season, but you don't want to start season 3 with any potential penalties looming over your head. So we'll see if this is going to be an improvement from the second Red Bull driver. He's 21 thousandths down on his time at the moment. Oh, he's had a big slide on the exit there from Young Sao, and that is just going to kill your momentum all the way down this straight. And unsurprisingly, perhaps, he decides it's time to dive into the pits. Mr. Pop looks as though he's going for a second run on this set of tyres, so that's a very interesting strategy indeed. We'll see what XL Ryan can do. Yet to set a lap time, currently in 12th place. 10 minutes remaining. It's Chapalele, Justas, Bullet Boy, Mr. Pop and Ivan Bakker, the fastest drivers at this moment in time. Can XL Ryan get himself up into the 106.5s? 106.798 in the end for him, just ahead of his teammate for this evening. So McCrew and Ryan 8th and 7th at this moment in time. See what Kazai can do then in the Ferrari, just invalidating there. Nufflebeezy, he's on the lap at the moment, just decided to head straight into the pits. Kazai just deciding to carry on to try and get another lap in at this moment in time. Still, we've got Kazai, Ace, Connor and Daniel yet to set a lap time. And I do believe Daniel is going to do some celebratory donuts and is going to attempt to last the first challenge. And I wonder if Connor's thinking he wants to work his way from the back of the grid as well. He's done it a few times this season. We'll see what Babacar can do now on his hot lap. The Sowell Alpha Tauri with us this afternoon. Can he get his way up the order? And that is a very good lap time indeed. Puts him into second place, showing some fantastic pace that we, to be fair to him, we haven't really seen this season. He's only had 1 top 5 finish, and that was a couple of rounds ago in the Russian Grand Prix. Provisionally though, he will be starting on the front row of the grid. Remains to be seen whether he'll be there towards the end of qualifying. And here's a man who at the start of the season looked unstoppable. 3 wins in a podium in the first 4 races. It looked as though it was going to be the Lithuanian lifting this INL Division 1 crown and getting himself that £25 PSN gift card as well. Just a slight drop in form coinciding with Daniel and Connor really stepping up the pace, and just as with that one race that he missed, of course, in Russia, now he's now out of the championship. If it wasn't for that, could well still have a great chance of winning the championship. Ifs and buts and all that. He's going to get the Constructors' Championship. Can he end the season on a win? If he does want to end the season on a win, that's how you want to start qualifying. 106.407 for his second run. A very handy time indeed. We have got a few more drivers now coming out on outlaps. Kazai's time was good enough to get him up into 10th place. McCrew then going on board with the McLaren driver. See what he can do. 1 podium so far this season in Russia. He's only done 3 races, and in all 3 of them he scored points. Had 2 8th places as well. The one last time out in Abu Dhabi, and that was good enough as well to get him the fastest lap. 800th up on his time, and just a bit wide through Decido de Largo. And that is good enough to invalidate your lap. So fine margins around this circuit. Track limits, not like in real F1 where some corners you're able to get away with it. Oh no indeed, it is. If you put 4 wheels over the white line, that is it. Your lap is invalidated whether you like it or not. Ivan Bakker really putting in a good pace at the moment. Purple in the first sector. We'll see if Mr. Pop can keep it clean. Down in 5th place. Again, another driver who said he's got something to fight for in this championship battle. He's only a couple of points behind Meadow de Bever, and if Connor can't get back into the session, he's have a slim chance of getting 3rd as well, and he's improving quite a bit at the moment. Nearly 2 tenths up, so this should be good enough to put him just behind his teammate in a racing point 1-2, and that is why they're the Constructors' Champions. That is the kind of pace they have been showing as Mr. Pop heads towards the line. He does go into second, just 16 thousandths behind his teammate. Ivan Bakker getting a lovely slipstream off of Chapalele here, so this could boost it, both Red Bulls onto that second row of the grid, and now Ivan just missing out when AlphaTauri squeeze in between them. So still, again, a great performance from Barakakap to get into that 4th position at this moment in time. Who else have we got on a hot lap at the moment? Nuffle Beasy going for it on the medium tyres, and I'm not sure if he's made a mistake coming out of Pico de Pato and into Magulo, because he's just going very slowly around there at the moment. So it looks as though he's gearing up for another run in this session. Asakomi, 8th position at this moment in time. Another driver who things started off well at the start of the season. He got a podium in the first race after the reset. And Chapalele's retired from the session. He's had a big moment by the looks of things. He has had a big crash somewhere, and we see Asakoma is slowing down at the moment. Has that been another mistake from Chapalele? How on earth has he ended up there? Chapalele's had a big... Looks as though he's had big wheel spin coming out of Pinarino and just into the wall. So that's another retirement for Chapalele in qualifying. Things just do not seem to be going his way in qualifying sessions for whatever reason so far this year. 4th is the best he'll be starting. Remains to be seen whether he will drop any further down. On board then with NER Ace. 5 minutes to go. Still him, Connor and Daniel yet to set a time, and I don't believe Connor has actually managed to get back into the session yet, so hopefully by the end he will be able to get back in, and we'll be able to see what he can do from lower down on the grid. On board with the Soul Mercedes as he comes through Pinarino. Still the 2 racing points at the top of the field then, with Bullet Boy now in 3rd place, Chapalele 4th, Barakakap 5th, Ivan Bakker 6th. Look at that, the top 6 cars separated by a quarter of a second at the moment. We'll see if Ace can work his way up the order. Everyone that has set a time is within 8 tenths of a second. At least looking like we are going to have a really close race. And there are the celebratory donuts from the champion then. Daniel, after winning the race, well, after finishing second, of course you can't do any control of the car on your parade lap, so on the way back to the pit. So there we go. There is our champion, loving life at the moment, and he will of course be starting from the back of the grid. Might be starting ahead of Connor though, if the Williams does manage to join the session. So Daniel, never seen anyone do the donuts on gravel before. I think it was in IndyCar, wasn't it, where Alex Rossi was doing a few donuts and managed to get himself stuck, and it's fair to say he's enjoying himself at the moment. Ace's time was good enough to get him into 11th. VRT Law dives back into the pits. Snuffle Beezy back out again then on a set of on the soft tyres, I should say. In the Renault, he was on the mediums early on, but he's now gone back onto a set of the soft tyres. So we'll see what sort of time he can do, as I think Daniel has absolutely ruined those soft tyres, so he's definitely not going to be setting any laps, even if he wanted to. We'll see what time the Renault can do at the moment. And there we go. 3 temps up in Sector 1. Could this be a bit of a good swan song then from the Renault driver? So far, Renault, it's fair to say, have struggled. Knuckle Easy scoring 16 points so far this season. Half of them were for a 6th place at the, I believe it was it at the Singapore Grand Prix? Not that surprising, given how famous Singapore is for its attrition. But it looks like he's got some good pace at the moment. Could even get himself into the top 10 in qualifying. He always turns up unless can't make it for any reason and tries to do the best he can. And look at that, he's 5 temps up at the moment, and it was all looking so good there for Nuffle Beezy, and he might well be qualifying down in 13th. But on a fresh tyre run, with the pace that he looks to have all of a sudden, who knows, we might see better from him later in the race. We'll have to wait and see. He comes back to the pits. Not sure he's going to have too much time to get another lap in. It looks like Connor is going to do a lap in, so thankfully his connection issues have been solved. Menno de Bever's managed to rejoin. Normally drives for the McLaren, but seeing as that space was taken by XL Ryan as a reserve, Menno is popping along in the Alfa Romeo. So a very late season change here at this moment in time. But most of the drivers are now out on their final qualifying runs. Connor into the pits, retires from the session, so he will be starting from 15th on the grid. Well, at best 15th. You'd imagine Menno is going to manage to set a lap time in that Alfa Romeo. We've got Mr. Pop, 2nd place at this moment in time. Can he improve? Can he challenge his teammates for pole position, or will it be just as on pole, or will it be someone else entirely? Even will we see a completely new face manage to get on pole position? It appears that Bullet Boy has lagged out, so we'll try and get him back into the session as quickly as possible. Do apologise for this slight interruption. I'll just tell you now that Just As is coming around the final couple of corners. So when we get back into the session, we will tell you what sort of time he is going to be setting here in the racing points. He's now coming across the line, but unfortunately I can't see what the times are at this moment in time. It did still look, though, like a fairly clean lap from the Racing Point driver. And there we go. It was fast enough to take pole position for now on a 1:06.361. Just as round the 3rd corner out of the centre S. Can he work his way up the order? Daniel, Menno and Connor all in the pit, so they won't be improving at all. It doesn't look as though Just As is going to be improving. Bullet's not even in the session, so of course we're not going to see any improvements from him. We are really getting towards the end of the session at the moment. Kazai just starting his final hot lap, currently in 10th place. Ace and Law on their way to start their flying lap, so I think Law's going to be the final driver across the finish line to start a flying lap in this session. Can Just As find any more time? His teammate's just ahead of him, but probably won't want to give him a slipstream at this moment in time. And no, Just As is losing even more time, so it looks as though 2nd is going to be the best for him, and it is going to be Mr. Pop XL on pole position. VRT Law has invalidated and retired from the session. NERA seems to be going very slowly as well. Just As is getting a bit of a slipstream off his teammate. Not good enough, though, to get pole position. He goes into 2nd place. Who's going to be next? Carve across the line. It's Baraka Cap in the Alfa Tauri. He can only stay in 6th. XL Ryan has invalidated, so no improvement from him. M&T Kazai will be starting in the top 10. Will the team mentalism driver? No one behind him who can beat him, and he goes up into 7th place. We're going to see Ivan Bakker dive into the pits. The crew trying to improve then. He does improve his time, stays, I believe, in 9th place. An identical time to his teammate XL Ryan. It's fair to say those McLarens are pretty well matched, as Asakomi now comes across the line and takes 7 positions. So all the teams almost at the front, apart from Bullet Boy and Baraka Cap in the top 10 at least, are all going 2 by 2. We've got 2 racing points on the first row of the grid Red Bull's 4th and 5th, 2 Ferraris on the 3rd row of the grid, and the 2 McLarens on the 9th row of the grid. And it is Mr. Pop XL with a 106.3 right at the death of the session, who takes pole position. Can he convert that into a second win of the season and keep his slim hopes of finishing in the top 3 in the championship? Could he clinch that 3rd position today? Mr. Pop is fastest, just as was 2nd, Bullet Boy 3rd in the Williams, Ivan and Shapalele 4th and 5th. Baraka Cap, great qualifying from him to get 6th position. Asakome, Kazai, then XL Ryan and McCrew, the 2 Ferraris and the 2 McLarens rounding out the top 10. NER race will have fresh set of tyres for the race, as will VRT Law and Nuffle Beasley. Daniel said he was going to try and start from last. In the end, he is 14th, as Connor and Menno de Bever, the other drivers, yet to set a lap time. And look how close the field is at this moment in time. 9 tenths separating all 13 drivers. And you've got to say, from the pace Nuffle Beasley was showing, he'd have been further up there. He was looking like he could, just maybe, it could have been top 10. So we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see how this goes, won't we, this race? This is going to be very fun indeed. There's always a possibility of some rain and other shenanigans going on around this Brazilian Grand Prix circuit, and you can see very overcast at this moment in time. Or does look like it wouldn't be the most surprising thing, let's put it that way, if we do get some rain in this race. Who is going to end up taking the victory then? Will it be one of the Racing Points on the front row of the grid? Mr. Pop with pole position, his teammate alongside him in 2nd. How far can Daniel and Connor get up the grid? Just waiting for the drivers to finalise their setups and strategies. Then it'll be the formation lap, and then we'll have 36 laps around this Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache to round out the final race of Season 2 here at INL. And if it does rain, that's going to make things very interesting on the strategy. Normally, you'd expect a standard one-stop strategy around here. Looks like, well, we knew the top 10 were going to be on the soft tyres. We'll see what everyone else goes onto as well, because that is going to give us a clue whether we'll get some rain. And most of those outside the top 10, apart from Nuffle Beasley, doing exactly what I expected to do. Go onto the medium tyres. So that suggests to me, at least for the first part of the race, it's going to be a more bog standard session with, in terms of weather. Hopefully Bullet Boy, is able to get back into the session, and hopefully his disconnection won't cause any connection problems, because we do know this game does love having the odd glitch when people lag out in a qualifying session. I think that's why Menno was looking a bit strange for myself early on. He's starting from the back of the grid. There are the predicted strategies: soft to hards, medium to hards. I'd imagine, from being honest, we will see more softs to mediums and medium to soft tyres, unless someone goes for a very crazy undercut in the front top 10. I think we'll be very doubtful to see anyone going on a set of the hard tyres. Well, there's the view everyone wants then. Mr. Pop, no one ahead of him in this race. Can he keep it that way? Can he get his 2nd win of the season? A season which didn't start in the most auspicious of fashions, to be perfectly honest. No points in the first 2 races, a 9th in Mexico being his first points of the season. Did pick up a podium at the Hungarian Grand Prix, but that was his only podium in the first 7 races. Since then, he's had 3 podiums, and one of them was a victory. And can he make it another victory? And you do wonder, if he'd have had a better start to the season, could he have challenged for the title? If Connor had been here for the start of the season, could he have challenged for the title? All these ifs and buts, as Bullet Boy wants another invite, so we'll get him, well, we'll try and get him in as quickly as possible, because if this race starts before I finish typing his name, he ain't getting back in. There we go, just like clockwork as he gets his way back into the session. Menno de Bever, the final car on the grid. What can he do from 16th place? He used to drive in the McLaren, so it'll be interesting to see what he thinks to the Alfa Romeo. They are meant to be identical cars, of course, but there are just very slight differences. As there we go, the lights are coming on now here at Brazil for the final race of the season. And we are underway. What are the starts like from the 2 Racing Points? It looks fairly even, to be fair. Mr. Pop getting ahead into the lead of this race. Bullet Boy probably not yet in control of his car, so that is why he's dropping down the order. And that's why you've got a bit of a gap to Shapalele, who's now in third place. Ivan Bakker is in fourth, but he's under big pressure from Mr. Pop XL. There's a bit of front wing going off in the background. Not sure if that was off one of the Haas cars. There is definitely a tinge of red on it at this moment in time, but a great start from the two racing points. Mr. Pop leads just as second, Red Bull's third and fourth. Asakomi is up to sixth. XL Ryan round the outside at Ferrajura on Kazai, gets the move done. Fantastic from him. Daniel up into 11th straight away, trying to still work out who that damage was off and whose front wing is missing an end plate at this moment in time. Seems to be a bit of lag there from, in fact I think it is off the Alfa Romeo, off Menno de Bevers. Bullet Boy and Connor were just battling ever so slightly there, and Bullet Boy's trying to go all the way round the outside of Magulio, and Young Sao didn't work out. He's gone off the circuit. Needs to be very careful keeping these tyres in good condition in the early laps. That disconnection has really cost him any chance, you'd imagine, of getting a podium in this race, as Just As is in second place still. Nearly got a bit excited there. Mr. Pop still leading then. Shapalele third, Ivan Bakker fourth, Barakacap is in fifth. Bullet Boy has got the move done on VRT Law at the moment as Menno de Bever into the pits on those medium tyres. Be interesting to see whether he tries to get a set of hards to the end, and no, he's going for the medium, so he will be making a stop for the soft tyres later on as Ace all over the back of Connor. They all want to finish this season on a high, and now that there's no championships to fight for, quite often you get more exciting races because everyone could just go for it, pedal to the metal. It's basically an exhibition for a lot of these drivers now. They just want to have as much fun as possible, and it is going to be very fun indeed because we're going to have one heck of a DRS train. Everyone apart from Mr. Pop in first and Menno in last is going to have DRS next time around. They'll be able to use it for the first time on the back straight, on the Retro Aposta, that's straight in between turns 3 and 4, and then they'll be able to use it into the Senna S at the end of lap 3, and that is when you will see a lot more of the overtaking action happening then. XL Ryan behind Asakomi at the moment, as there we go, fastest lap of the race from Mr. Pop. He tries to extend his lead at this moment in time. Connor gets his way past VRT Law then. He is now up into 13th place, and I'd expect for two Williams to just try and follow Daniel through the field as Daniel's got his way down the inside of Knucklebeezy at turn 3. I imagine Renault must have made a mistake because that's not normally a place you see an overtaking manoeuvre, but Daniel, lead car, already on those medium tyres. Let's not count him out from a very good result indeed, especially if the DRS is going to help him just stay in contact with everyone. Knuffled down into 11th then as Bullet Boy thinks about going down the inside. There's contact between the two of them. Just couldn't tell from that camera angle that we had, unfortunately, whether the door was open or not. But Bullet Boy then back down to 13th place, and that disconnection dropped him down into the midfield. He's finding it really, really tough to get out at this moment in time. He's now behind his teammate Connor, so we'll have to see if there'll be any team orders between these two. You'd expect at the moment Bullet Boy would have the pace, and he should be able to use those soft tyres a bit easier to overtake some of the other cars. So I can't imagine, if he does feel like he's being held up, Connor will make it too hard for him as NERA is trying to go all the way around the outside into turn 1 on VRT Law. They're going to get very close to each other coming through turn 2. They're going to be side by side all the way through 3. They're both going to have DRS, I think, down this back straight. It's just going to be who has got their car ahead enough, and it is the Mercedes. So that is now Ace up into 14th place. McCrew, first driver to pick up a 3-second penalty, and if the race stays as close as it is at the moment, that could be costly as he's trying to work his way up. We've got Ferrari McLaren in 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th place. Your top 5 then. Still Mr. Pop in the lead of this race by half a second just over at this moment in time from Just As. Shapalele is 3rd, Ivan Bakker 4th, Barakacap, Asakomi, Ryan, Kazai, McCrew, Daniel, Knucklebeezy, Connor, Bullet Boy, Ace, Law and Menno. Your 16 runners at the moment. Everyone's still in this race, and those clouds still looking ever threatening around the circuit. Just As closing in ever so slightly, fastest lap of the race, perhaps not surprising, seeing as he's got the DRS. When will we start seeing some pit stops from these drivers? Not for another, I'd imagine, 6 or 7 laps at least yet, and that's probably if they're going for the hard tyres, but we'll have to wait and see. Barakacap is dropping back ever so slightly, doesn't have the DRS. That might help the top 4 get away, That might help Asakomi if he wants to get a move done on that AlphaTauri and get his best result since round 1 of the season, where of course he did get that podium at the Canadian Grand Prix. Now he's just holding on to 10th in the championship and hopes to consolidate that with a good result. Further down the order, we've still got the 2 Williams then in 12th and 13th. Bullet Boy still behind Connor. He might find it tough on this more traditional strategy and on the older soft tyres. Let's not forget, Nufflebeezy in 11th will have fresh soft tyres. The only driver who started on the softs to be outside the top 10, so he doesn't have to worry as much about tyre life, and you'd imagine he'd be able to go a lap or 2 longer if he wants to do so. And for a moment there, it looked as though he was thinking about lining up Daniel for an overtake. Out in front though, just as he's lining up his teammate for an overtake, straight down the inside he goes. Mr. Pop's trying to hang it off around the outside, and there was a bit of contact between the two of them, and the big winner out of this might be the Red Bull of Shapalele, who's got DRS here, both of them with the DRS, but he's got the momentum. Can he get his car far enough alongside to go down the inside into Destino del Lago? And he's still there. He's just as at this moment in time. He's going to have the inside for Ferrajora. They're banging wheels at the moment. You can't go side by side through there. And in the end, Just As gets the position back, but it's just gone ever so slightly deep. Very late on the brakes indeed. And all this battling is just allowing Mr. Pop to get away ever so slightly. Ivan Bakker just hanging back ever so slightly, just maybe to take advantage. Down the inside goes Shapalele. Surely, how are these two avoiding making big contact between each other? Not at the moment, but they've just cost themselves so much time. And Just As the lap before was thinking about going for an overtake on his teammate, now he's going to have to think about getting very defensive very early on this straight, because he's not going to have any DRS at all. And I think Shapalele has realised he's maybe just a bit too far back to make that move pay off. So Mr. Pop is still in the lead of this race, 6 laps gone. Some very robust attacking and then some very robust defending from Just As there. I'm not sure Shapalele would be too happy at the fact that Just As was off circuit at one point there. We'll just have to wait and see how things go in this race. Still a long way to go. Still possibility for strategy. Still, we haven't seen any accidents or anything. It's been very clean so far. Nufflebeezy doing a good job at the moment. Just outside the points. He's holding up Connor. He is holding up Bullet Boy, and you can see these three are getting away from Ace and Law. Then you've just got Menno on his own at the moment in last place, just trying to get anything good from this. And if things stayed as they are, it is going to be Mr. Pop who takes that 3rd place in the championship, just underlying the pace that both Racing Point drivers have had throughout the season. But there is still, of course, a long way to go. On board with our champion then, down in 10th, attempting the last to first, and those medium tyres just aren't giving him the grip in that middle sector, I don't think, to get really close to McCrew and really put him under some big threats down this pit straight. That's his best possible exit. McCrew even shut in DRS, so I'm not quite sure if that was just to let Daniel through, but if it was, it had the intended effect, because that is Daniel, just as I was about to say, he's not really catching up on the medium tyres. He is catching up. He is now up into 9th position, and Kazai will be his next target. And in the next couple of laps, those mediums will be the ones to be on. Out in front as Connor dives down the inside there on Nufflebeezy. Just goes a bit too deep and ends up losing that place and losing the place to his teammate as well. Bullet Boy's on the grass ever so slightly. That's just going to wide open the door for Connor. Fair to say the Williams have had better attempts at overtaking Reynolds than that previously. Connor then still in 12th, Bullet Boy still in 13th, Nufflebeezy still holding on to 11th, and I don't think Bullet Boy will be too happy there. Oh, and I don't think he'll be too happy now, because he's off the circuit with a broken front wing. Big damage on the front wing there of Bullet Boy, so that's a definite pit stop, and I'd imagine that will be hard tyres until the end of the race. Such a shame after a good qualifying. That disconnection really has put him in big problems. Lap 9. And you can see Just As looks to have the pace. He just can't get past Mr. Pop. That gap grew quite a lot at one stage to about a second as Kazai, very good move, down into the centre S, gets himself now up into 7th place. As there we go, Just As has gone past his teammate. Mr. Pop has gone way off the circuit. He's going to lose a place to Shapalele. He's probably going to be under big pressure from Ivan Bakker as well, up towards Ferrajora. Thankfully for him, there's enough space for him to hang on to that as Bullet Boy has retired from the race. So we are down to just 15 runners in this race. We only caught the end of what happened there with Just As and Mr. Pop, so apologies for that, but it's fair to say Mr. Pop didn't take the most optimal line through turns 4 and 5, was a long way off the circuit, and now we'll see if Just As has got the pace at the front to just hold on to this lead and take a 4th victory of the season. Amazingly, a first win since round 3 of the reset, so Mexican Grand Prix a long time ago. 9 races since he last took a win as Connor down the inside before we've even got to turn 1 then. Those mediums are really starting to come into their own at this moment in time. Connor now up into 11th position. Ivan Backer on the back of Mr. Pop XL. Can he dive one down the inside here? Oh, he's not really been... I don't think I'll be too happy about that. He's not really been left the room. I think he was entitled to there. He had a fair bit of his car alongside. Maybe could have just done with being a bit braver on the brakes and a bit later to force the issue in the politest possible way. Force the issue a bit more, but he does stay in 4th place. And it's fair to say Mr. Pop's having a bit of an exciting afternoon at this moment in time. Daniel still in 9th place behind McCrew. So he's now the meat in the McLaren sandwich. XL Ryan ahead of him. Daniel 9th. McCrew is 10th. Connor will soon be trying to work his way up. And these on the mediums now need to start making some moves. Their tyres will be better than those on the soft tyres. Just for DRS trains do make it exceedingly difficult to pull off an overtake. Lap 11 of this race. Chapalele just fainting an attempt there at an overtake. For a split second I thought he was going to go for something as McCrew is into the pits. That's an earlier pit stop than I was expecting. I imagine this has got to be for a set of the hard tyres for the McLaren then. Just As hanging on to the lead though. Lap 11, he's in the lead. These two are pulling away from Mr. Pop XL. Barakat dropped second back from the top 4 drivers, but hasn't really dropped back anymore at the moment as McCrew's actually back out on the medium, so he should be able to make them last until the end. Not sure if they'll be in the best of pace at that moment, so it looks like this is going to be a race where McCrew can pick up the odd point. Any more than that might be a bit of a challenge for him now in that McLaren. He's down in 14th, but he will be closing up to all the guys ahead of him, so could even come out ahead of his teammate and the 2 Ferraris, and maybe even Barakat after the pit stop. It all depends on what lap these drivers do come into the pits. It does look as though Just As he's just starting to struggle ever so slightly, maybe with those rear tyres. Did have a big slide there coming through Young Sao. Not like it's cost him a chance at the race though, as Kazai right behind his teammate then. We've seen 2 Ferraris come together at Brazil about 12 months ago. He's going to dive one down the inside of Asakomi, and again, just like 12 months ago, they come together, they come off worse, and Kazai, I mean, was there a need to retire from the session? I don't think so, but he has retired from the session, and we are down to 14 runners then, and still Chapalele. These two are pulling away now from Mr. Pop. They've got that gap up to about a second. Barakat must have made a mistake last lap because he's dropped down as well. Just As leading, Chapalele second, Mr. Pop in 3rd, Ivan Backer 4th, Barakat in 5th, and with all what's gone on with McCrew pitting, these two on the mediums, Daniel and Connor, arguably in the second half of the season at least, the class of the field, are line astern. They're the lead cars on the medium tyres, and XL Ryan won't have DRS this lap. We could see some moves coming very, very shortly through the field, and don't be surprised if Connor has a go at getting ahead of Daniel, if possibly. He's got a fantastic exit out of Young Sao. Daniel weaving very early on, cutting across the pit line there. He's thinking about defending here, not attacking. In the end, he is easily able to hold on to that 8th place. A lot of tyres though from some of these cars. I think that must have been Asakomi who had a big lock-up, as well as Daniel. Now, can he use his ERS? Can he use his DRS to maybe just get ahead of the McLaren of XL Ryan, who I think realises that is a position he's not going to fight at the moment. Daniel not really leaving him a lot of space at the point of turning there. Daniel getting squeezing Ryan ever so slightly. That could have gone wrong, but Daniel in 7th, Ryan in 8th. And the bad news for Connor is he's probably going to have to go this entire sector stuck behind the McLaren, unless he can get a move done at Pico de Pato. If not, you just lose a bit of time when you're stuck behind a slower car in this middle sector, and it can really change the outlook on this race. So Daniel up to 7th, Ryan up into 8th place at the moment. And still no one else off these soft tyres is coming into the pits. So they're all going a bit, pretty much towards the time I was expecting. We're on to lap 14 now for the leaders. As there we go, we are seeing the first of the leaders come in then. Mr. Pop and Ivan Backer and Asakomi all coming into the pits. Connor, Ryan, most of them now actually coming in. So it's only the top two and Baraka Cap who stayed out on the soft tyres. They all had the same ideas. A few drivers then going for the undercuts. The second placed Racing Points and Red Bulls coming into the pits, whereas the lead ones deciding to stay out a bit longer. And very interestingly, and I'm sure we've seen him do this before, and I don't think it worked out then, Mr. Pop has come out on the hard tyres. Yes, he'll have no worries about tyres at the end of the race, but he'll have no pace either, I don't think. So very interesting indeed. One, Mr. Pop XL to come out once again on a set of the hard tyres. Don't think, personally, that is the right strategy. He'll have done a lot of practice and he'll have realised that's what he's going for, unless it is a mistake. I have seen drivers before originally go for soft hard strategies, extend the soft stint and then forget to change the tyres and tell Jeff to change them to a set of the mediums. But I think we'll be seeing the other front three come in on this lap, just as with a bit of a fake, Shapalele deciding he fancies staying out a tiny bit longer, as does Baraka Cap. So these are definitely going for the soft medium strategy, maybe hoping that there could just be a safety car. We've now got Daniel in fourth, Connor in fifth. Still, do not write off these drivers from getting a podium in this race, although that is a big slide from Daniel. Connor not really close enough to take advantage. 6th and 7th place. Some of the other drivers who started on the mediums, still Ace and Law battling with each other at the moment. Mr. Pop is in 8th ahead of Ivan Backer, but I think this is the chance. In the next couple of laps, those mediums will heat up quicker and they will have the pace advantage now. And if Ivan wants to get himself a second podium of the season, he needs to get past the Racing Point as quickly as humanly possible, because with the pace he'll have on the undercut, might even be able to jump his teammate and just as well. We'll get the time gaps up to the front of the field. You can see 20 seconds off the lead at the moment. That's about a pit stop time around this circuit, so has got a very good chance indeed of us seeing this Racing Point and this Red Bull leading the race in a couple of laps time. As there we go, just as in, Shapalele stays out. Shapalele going one lap longer than he wants to fresh tyres at the end of this race, and Baraka Cap staying out as well. So just as into the pits, as it looked for a second there as if Connor was about to attempt to move on Daniel, and he might well be attempting one down this back straight. Not quite close enough. Ivan Backer gets ahead of Mr. Pop XL with the fastest lap of the race. That is beautifully done, and he's going to have some fantastic momentum coming around this final corner. I think he's just going to fall short of just as on the run down in towards turn 4 and 5, but there we go. We can see how much time he's gained. He's now very well probably up into a net second place after Shapalele comes into the pits, and Baraka Cap is doing a fantastic job of holding up Daniel and Connor. This is really going to be frustrating, these two on the medium tyres, and really costing them possibly any chance they have of taking the victory at the end of the race. We'll just have to wait and see where the others come out relative to them. They're currently 13 seconds ahead, well 11 seconds ahead of just as, I should say. That gap really closing down as Daniel's not again at the best exit. Shapalele and Baraka Cap both coming in to the pits, so Daniel now takes the lead from 14th place. Connor is up into second. Where will Shapalele and Baraka Cap come out? Just as is more than a second ahead of Ivan Backer already. You'd expect him to hold on to this lead of the race. All depends on where Shapalele comes out relative to the other two, to Ivan and Mr. Pop XL. This is going to be pretty close again on pit exit. I think, though, Shapalele is just going to hang on to that 6th position at this moment. So no real change in that pit stop period at the front, apart from Ivan Backer on track, getting ahead of Mr. Pop XL, who's just going to hold on to the back of these guys on the hard tyres and probably hope for penalties, because I'm not sure they're going to get to a stage where they fall off at the end of this race. And now we're going to have a proper battle between Daniel and Connor. These have got, you'd imagine, another 3 or 4 laps at least until they come into the pits. Are we now going to see Connor just turn things up to try and get the lead of this race, try and get away? He knows he's got a chance still of getting a podium. How big of a chance could depend on whether Daniel's holding him up at this moment in time. He's in DRS range not close enough to have a go into turn 1 as we go into lap 18, and Nufflebeezy is a long way off circuit at this moment in time. Got off Fumigulo, he drops down into 14th and last position. Daniel weaving over to the left-hand side of the track. And again, Connor not too interested at that overtake at this moment in time. Is Shapalele interested though? Not in an overtake for the current race lead, but definitely in an overtake for the net race lead. Just as having to go defensive on the run down into turn 3 and 4 and 5, I should say. He gets that position done. And again, Shapalele might just feel like we're shoved out wide there. I'm not sure though. Is there really a chance through turns 4 and 5 through Decido de Largo to get a move done on the car ahead? And what could cost these guys is that they're catching up to Ace and Law, who are 3rd and 4th on those medium tyres. So I've still got another few laps to go at least, but this could just hold these two up and give Daniel and Connor a bit more of a chance of getting onto the podium, or maybe getting into the winner's circle at the end of this race. We are halfway through this final Brazilian Grand Prix, and there's been plenty of action so far. But if you think the one thing it's missing is a title battle, I really wish there was a championship battle somewhere I could watch, you're in luck, because Division 2, which is live right now, does have a championship battle underway at this moment in time. So there we go, Connor then, still behind Daniel, lost a bit of time coming out of the centre S, so he's not going to be close enough to have a go into turns 4 and 5 in the Decido Largo. And Shapalele not close enough either. Just as and Shapalele though are getting away from Ivan and Mr. Pop. So I think if there is going to be a battle for the win, it is going to be between these two. Are we going to see Shapalele get his first win since Singapore? We're going to see Just As get his first win since, I think it was Mexico, wasn't it? The 3rd round of the season? Indeed it was. So it's been a long time since these two tasted the winner's champagne. One of them, you'd imagine, unless something goes horrifically wrong, will definitely be taking the victory at the moment. They've kept it very clean as well. Most of the drivers have, to be fair. Menno, Law and Ace with 3 seconds of penalties. McCrew with 6 seconds, which as it stands wouldn't cost him, and he gained a lot of time on XL Ryan, who surely made a mistake at some point. As there we go, we've had a move for the lead of the race. Connor gets ahead of Daniel. We caught the tail end of that. Connor now leading this race. He's decided now that he's probably coming in the next couple of laps, now's the time to take these medium tyres and push them as hard as possible. So Connor in the lead, Daniel in second, just Ace is third, Just As is fourth, Shapalele in fifth, then Ivan Becker, Mr. Pop, Asakome, Barakakap, who lost a few places in that pit stop period. Here's the man in 10th place then, McCrew at the moment. His race now depends on can he just keep those medium tyres in good enough condition towards the end of the race and to pick himself up another couple of points possibly. We've still had no safety cars, and we've only had 2 retirements. Bullet Boy in the pit lane, and Kazai a bit annoyed after being squeezed slightly by his teammate retiring out on track. You can see the pace Connor is showing all of a sudden now that he's got himself a bit of free air. He's gained 8 tenths over Daniel, so you've got to say on these mediums he definitely looks like he's got the pace. Whether he's been able to save his tyres better or whether this is just pure pace on this set of tyres at this moment in time, we'll have to wait and see. Just As got stuck, I think, ever so slightly behind Ace. He's got DRS to help him defend, but Shapalele is going to try it all the way around the outside at the centre S. Can't get it done. Now just needs to concentrate on getting a much better exit. He's basically almost pushed him through turn 2 there into turn 3, but he's going to have to go the long way round once again. Nufflebeezy is around once again, and Shapalele's got ahead on the brakes into turn 4. Fantastic move from the Red Bull driver. He now takes the lead of this race, and Nufflebeezy is able to continue again. Menno de Bever has also been back into the pits for a set of the soft tyres. Ace in as well. He comes out in 11th place as Nufflebeezy comes into the pits and retires from the race. So we're down to 13 runners in this Brazilian Grand Prix with 15 laps remaining. At the end of this one, it is Connor in the lead, just about. It's going to be very close with the DRS, but I think he's just about got outside of DRS range, and he's into the pits, and so is Daniel. So both of these get it slowed down in time. Don't think we've seen any pit lane speeding penalties in this race, so these will come out. They'll come out in a bit of free air behind McCrew in 8th and 9th place at the moment. So Shapalele leading, Just As second, Ivan Becker third, then it's Mr. Pop, it'll be Asakome Baraka, McCrew, and then Connor and Daniel on their fresh soft tyres. Can they work their way through the traffic? Can they still have a say in the direction of the race victory here with 15 laps to go? These front two have definitely got away. Ivan and Mr. Pop are now 3 seconds off the lead of this race. It was a four-way train for most of the first stint. Just for whatever reason, Ivan hasn't had the pace to really... You'd have expected him to get away from Mr. Pop XL on those hard tyres, who could still, in the final few laps, those hards will be better than the mediums on the Red Bull. So I'm not quite sure why Ivan's maybe... Is he trying to save some tyres to make sure he's got something to fight with at the end? But I'd have expected he'd have been pushing a bit harder at this moment in time to just make sure he could get away, because Mr. Pop, you get a feeling, and once he gets in DRS range towards the end of the race, might be close enough to send a move to take third position. In fact, he might be close enough to send a move now to take third position. Straightforward, round the outside, on the racing line. Thank you very much. Mr. Pop's up into third with 14 laps remaining. McCrew ahead of Connor, who's going to send one down the inside into turn one, and there's nothing McCrew can do about that. The pace of the tyres on Connor's Williams just too much. He's up into 7. He's only 7 seconds off the podium. 14 laps to go. He's 10.5 off the lead. That's going to be a challenge. 7 for a podium, I think, is very doable indeed. And I think Daniel won't be too far behind McCrew either. The last to first that Daniel was hoping for hasn't quite worked out. If there is anyone who's going to do it, it's going to be them Williams on screen at this moment in time. It's just when he catches up to Asakomi and Baraka, the DRS trains, can he make the move when he's the third man in the train? We'll have to wait and see, of course. Still, though, for the lead of this race, as they come from Young South for the 23rd time, it's Shapalele, half a second ahead of Just As. Now, the advantage of being behind the car, there's a disadvantage of having DRS when you're this close to a car in front, and that means you're wearing out your tyres ever so slightly, as Daniel gets ahead of McCrew well before we get to turn one and the fastest lap of the race. I was about to say, once if you're stuck behind a car in front, as Asakomi gets a penalty, you will wear your tyres a bit more. However, you can save a bit of ERS and you can save a bit of fuel. So later in the race, I'd be very surprised if we don't see Just As having maybe just a tiny bit more to fight with. You can see at the moment he's about 13% more on his ERS than the Red Bull. So that's not really a worry until Shapalele gets down to the 10% range. Then that extra bit of power that Just As might be able to use might just help him get a victory here. Still early days as Just As looks to take his 4th win of the season, more than any other driver in this season too, just to maybe show what he could have done if he hadn't had that bit of bad run of form in the middle of the season. As Shapalele looks to take his 2nd win, maybe to show what he could have done if he hadn't had that many bad qualifying sessions, which did really cost the Red Bull driver. Asakomi's not had the greatest run out of Young Sao, and here comes Bullet Boy on the back of the Ferrari and just gets the move done very easily indeed. So Baraka into 5th place. We'll be very happy with how he is doing at this moment in time. Great qualifying from him, you've got to say. He's shown his form in the race as well, so could be another top 5 finish. Might be one to watch next season because it's definitely improved his form as the season has gone on. And Ivan Backer's not really challenging Mr. Pop. You've got to say, Mr. Pop's getting away. To say they've had DRS, you'd have expected maybe the Red Bull to be a bit closer to Mr. Pop. Now that he's in the dirty air, he could drop back ever so slightly. And if he drops back to more of a second, that's going to help Connor, I'd say, when he gets past Baraka and Asakomi. I don't think it's an if. I think it's a when. I imagine he is going to be able to get that move done. He's 9 seconds off the lead at the moment. Daniel will be wanting to follow through as well. And if Ivan Backer hasn't got DRS to defend in about 4 or 5 laps time, he's going to find it very tough indeed as Mr. Pop gets away ever so slightly. But you can see it's very low ERS on that Red Bull. That is what the red flashing lights on the back of the car means. He hasn't really got enough to attack with us. There we go. Connor does make his way past Asakomi. Fastest lap of the race. He is now up into 6th place. And I think it might only be a couple more corners before he's getting ahead of the Alpha Tauri and Baraka as well, who's going to have to go defensive very early here. I don't think it's going to make one iota of difference. There goes Connor on the outside. 5th position. He is siving through the field. maybe a victory is still possible for this Williams driver. 8 seconds with 11 laps to go is tough, but we know he doesn't mind coming back sharp on the alternate strategy. It is very powerful on F1 2020. It's something that I try and use as often as possible, but I've not really got the pace of these guys or the consistency or anything really to pull it off enough. So Connor now up into 5th place, quickly making work of Barakakap and Asakome. I'm sure Daniel will be hoping to do the same to avoid getting held up, because he's already nearly 2.5 seconds behind the Williams driver. As we come on to lap 27 then, 10 laps remaining. Red Bull crosses the line. Chapelele still leading from Just As. I don't know whether he can't get close enough or he's just biding his time, as that's another fastest lap of the race from Connor. It will not be long before he's on the back of the Racing Point and the Red Bull. This looks like a certain podium. You'll probably just see him coming to shot in the background there, coming out of turn 3 as these two enter turn 4. And as soon as you start seeing the cars you want it to be, that's always a bit of a carrot on a stick to just help you push yourself to the cars in front. Whereas Daniel, in 8th place, is still stuck behind these two. Not ideal for him whatsoever. And to be fair, Barakakap and Asakome aren't exactly getting dropped either by the leaders. They're showing some pretty good pace at this moment in time. And if Barakakap, he's just dropped outside of DRS range now, but if he can find a way somehow on those mediums to get back in it, it's going to be hard for Daniel maybe to make the overtakes as easily as he thought. He might be able to have a go into Young Sao, and I think Asakome says, you know what, I'd rather have DRS on you than bother fighting that place at the moment. That is Daniel now up into 7th, but he's going to have to go defensive, I think, into turn 1 here. No, Asakome's not had the pace on traction to catch up to him. So there we go. Daniel now up into 7th place. Main battles on track at the moment are, again, Red Bull and Racing Point for the lead. Racing Point and Red Bull 3rd and 4th. And then just seeing what Connor and Daniel can do as they work their way up through the field. There we are, the sight. Looking back from Mr. Pop in 3rd place at the moment on those hard tyres, which have fared quite a bit better than I thought they would. I thought he'd have dropped a long way back off Ivan Bakker, probably heading towards now maybe the clutches of Connor and Barakakap. But no, he's doing a very good job. Looks like he is going to be rewarded with another podium. It has been a fantastic second half of the season from him in the Racing Point, as it has from Daniel and Connor as well. Just as, of course, with that fantastic first half of the season, just running short of steam to take this championship. I'm sure he'll be back next season. I'm sure he wants to prove that he's back now by taking the win in this race. 8 laps remaining as they cross the line this time. And he is closing into Chapelele, just not close enough to get the move done into turns 1 and 2. And if these two start battling properly, that could be what helps Connor have a chance of taking the victory. You can already see how much he's closing in on a podium at the moment. It's just, will he have enough life in those soft tyres to take the win? He might have a chance with Ivan Bakker, 8 laps difference at the moment, with Chapelele and Just As only having 5 and 6 lap older tyres respectively. Might just be that little bit harder, but we know he will try everything he can to end up taking the victory. And that's the view from our race leader then, looking for his 2nd win of the season. Won't move him up in the championship. He will finish 6th in the championship as things stand on 90 points. And when you consider 50 of them points look to have come from 2 race wins as it stands at the moment, just shows that Chapelele's had the pace. If he could just get that consistency, he will be a threat next season. This time around, there will be 7 to go, as Connor is going to have DRS on the back of Ivan Bakker. He's not going to be close enough into turn 1 or into turn 4 unless we see a mistake from the Red Bull, but he is definitely closing in. Just for a second there, it thought like the Red Bull might have a go at Mr. Pop. So he's definitely closing in, whereas Daniel is still stuck behind Barakakap. Whether this is a set-up choice and he's just not got the straight line speed, but this is something we see a lot from Connor, is that he just seems to... He's quick anyway, we know that, but after he pits, after he goes for this alternate strategy, he just seems to be on a completely different game almost, driving in a different series at times to some of the others. He just seems so much quicker on the alternate strategy than any of the other drivers can do. I mean, Daniel's no mug. He's pulled out 3 seconds on him, basically, in the 7 laps since they pitted. And here he is, right on the back of the Red Bull, who's going to have to be very careful with the lines he takes. Otherwise, he's going to be under big pressure into turn 1. He uses a bit of ERS there. I'm not sure how to use it there. I think I might have just saved it for this straight. You can see Connor using the grass, using the curbs. He's got the confidence in that car. Very shortly, he's going to have 4th position. DRS open for Ivan Bakker. There's not really a lot you can do about that. That is now Connor up into 4th position as Daniel makes his way past Barakakap down the inside then into the centre S. He takes 6th. Could he possibly catch up to the Red Bull, who does seem to have lost out quite a bit while all that's been going on? And Mr. Pop, he's got nothing to defend here either. And look how straightforward that was. That's Connor now up into 3rd place. 5.5 seconds with 5.5 laps to go. It's going to be a challenge. I think he'll close up ever so slightly, but he might need the top 2 to get penalties if he wants to take a victory in this race. But it's still going to be a well-earned podium, and it is going to be a podium that secures him 3rd in the championship. Here's review from our championship leader then. Not looking like he's going to finish, unfortunately for him, with a podium. Very clean race still. Top 7 without penalties at the moment, but it does look as though Daniel, he could get 4th place. We'll see how he does on this lap. Mr. Pop trying to close up to Connor at this moment in time. He'll have the DRS. Ivan's got back within a second as well, which is going to be a big help as he tries to hold on. So there we go, 5 remaining. Chapalele leading, just as is 2nd. Connor 3rd. Mr. Pop is in 4th. Ivan Bakker 5th. Daniel in 6th place at the moment. As Chapalele feeling the need to go slightly defensive there into turns 4 and 5 to Cedo Delago. And if they start battling, that might be just what Connor needs to close up to them on this alternate strategy. That's the first real time in a few laps we've seen Chapalele feel the need to go defensive and just block off just as ever so slightly. We said we'd see some action right towards the end. The sun has come out, so it's very straightforward. It is going to be dry tyres towards the end of the race. The Brazilian weather around the rainforest, thankfully, staying nice and kind for us. Is it going to be kind for Chapalele, or is it going to be just as taking another victory this season? Just lost the rear of the car then, ever so slightly. I'm not sure if there was a bit of rear locking under braking into the final corners, into Yongsao. 4 laps to go at the end of this one. Is he going to be close enough to Chapalele to go for a move into the centre S? This time he thinks about it. He more than thinks about it. He sends one up the inside, and that was never really Chapalele. Fair play, left the door open, but just couldn't get the car stopped in time to get that move done. He's lost himself a bit of momentum. Won't be close enough now. Has to have a go next time around. Connor's not closing up as much as he'd have wanted. You do wonder whether that might mean Mr. Pop has a chance on the final couple of laps to just take that podium back from Connor. The alternate strategies definitely help the Williams and the Alfa Romeo of Daniel, but not enough to make them work their way up through the order. Barakakap just hanging on to 7th place. And you've got to say he's done a better job of holding up onto Daniel than Asakomi's done. It looked like Asakomi is just going to settle for 8th place at the moment. McCrew still out on those mediums in 9th. Needs to be careful that Ace doesn't catch him up, which I think will be hard, and needs to be careful that he doesn't get a puncture at the end of this race. There's always that threat, and then Ryan, Law and Menno outside the points, and I can't imagine, unless there's any incident, them working their way up into the points. 3 to go. And Chapalele, for the first time in a couple of laps, not really having to go defensive, although he's not had a good exit there. He got on the curb at turn 1. You might have to go defensive down this back straight. No, he's got a good enough exit. Used a bit of DRS, and ERS I should say, just to stay ahead. Barakakap still in DRS range of Daniel. Just hasn't... He's done well, don't get me wrong, just hasn't had the pace on these soft tyres that I thought he would have done. I'd have expected him to be able to follow Connor a bit more closely. I think the effects of being 3rd man in the DRS train have just cooked his tyres a bit too much and cost him, made it tougher to overtake. And that is why he's in 6th place, but still with a slim chance of getting a top 5. He is still closing up to Ivan Bakker, although the softs will not be feeling anywhere near as good as they were when he put them on 11 laps ago. We're on to nearly the penultimate lap of the race then, at the end of this straight. Chapalele is 6 tenths ahead of Justaz at the moment, who opens his DRS, tries to close his way up to the Red Bull. We've already seen Justaz send one into centre S once, Even he knows he's too far away this time to get away with that a second time. Mr. Pop still trying to close up to Connor. I think his chances of doing that are probably just about done. He really is hanging on to that DRS range to say anything else. As Just As thought for a second was going to try one round the outside there on Shapalele, who's running very low on ERS here and has to go very defensive up the hill into Ferragora. This battle is going to rage for the next 90 to 100 seconds, and whoever comes out on top is going to be the winner in this race. It just need to keep it clean to not get any penalties. VRT Law into the pits. I wonder whether that's an attempt just to get the fastest lap. Won't get any points for it, of course, as he's not in the top 10. Just fighting for pride at this moment in time. As here we go, round Young Sal for the 35th and penultimate time. Shapalele in the lead, Just As nearly losing it, and could that bit of wheel spin on traction just hand the victory to the German in the Red Bull. We're coming on to the final lap of the race. We've got a yellow flag in Sector 2. Not quite sure what that was for there. Not sure if it's been a mistake from maybe from Asakomi, because he does seem to have dropped back, but he has got going again. We're on to then the final lap of the race, and I think Shapalele has got this battle sewn up at this moment in time. Ivan Bakker has not got this 5th place sewn up at this moment in time. Round the outside along the Retroposta, and that is Daniel up into 5th position then. Great performance from our champion. Started at the back. He's just going to fall short though of getting a podium by about 5 seconds. And I think as the leaders come through Pedrinho heading up to Bica de Pato, that is going to be pretty much it then for Just As. A slight mistake coming out of Young Sal last time around meant he wasn't close enough to Shapalele to really challenge. He's had to use a bit of ERS and fuel and tyres to catch his way back up again, as McCrew does get past Asakomi for 8th and 9th. It's been a fantastic battle between these two for the lead pretty much all the race, and it is Shapalele in the Red Bull who takes the victory in the final race of the season. Just As in second. It's a podium for Connor. Mr. Pop is in. Oh, Asakomi's got a front puncture. That is very surprising. Only 21 laps on those tyres. He must have absolutely taken the life out of them at the end. He's got a front right puncture then in the Ferrari. He's going to lose out on points because of that. Baraka Cap takes 7th, 8th after penalties. McCrew is going to drop down to 10th place, but will be saving that 10th. Such a shame for Asakomi. Very surprised indeed that after 22 laps on those tyres, when you consider few others have done 22 and McCrew did 25, that he hasn't got a puncture. I wonder if he's had a bit more of an understeery setup and that's just wrecked the front tyres. Asakomi 11th, Menno in 12th. VRT Law trying to set the fastest lap, and he does at the end, just for pride, but does carry on to finish in 13th and last. But he's been showing pace all season. It just hasn't come together for Shapalele, as Connor probably deservedly gets driver of the day from the game. But it's Shapalele with a 2nd victory of the season, ending what hasn't been the easiest championship, I think it's fair to say, for the German, on a high. Just As in 2nd and Connor in 3rd. 3 of the fastest drivers we've got in this division, unsurprisingly, alongside Connor and so many others as well who've put up great racing throughout the last 19 races. But the results, provisional results we should say, from the final race of the season, it's Shapalele qualified on 5th, had that accident of course in qualifying, came through in the end to take the victory. Just As 2nd, Connor gaining 12 places to take 3rd, Mr. Pop Excel in 4th. I wonder what he could have done if he'd have gone onto the mediums on his pit stop. Daniel in 5th, not that it matters though, of course he won the championship in the last race. Ivan Bakker couldn't quite hold on to that 6th position, but looks to have broken the Albon seat curse for that Red Bull team. Baraka Cap, very respectable day for him, qualified 6th, finish in 7th. Ace gets 8th, Ryan moving up to 9th after penalties. McCrew in 10th. Asakomi, such bad luck at the end to get that penalty, he finishes 11th. Menno de Beva was 12th. Law setting the fastest lap on the final lap, and we saw Nufabizi, Kazai and Bullet Boy retire. A very clean race in terms of no safety cars, no virtual safety cars, no Brazilian weather to spice things up. Not that it needed to spice it up. It is Shapalele who takes the victory in the final race of the season. The final race here at INL for 2020 as well, of course, the final race of the year. There is still action underway from Division 2 at this moment in time. If you want to see that race, they have got the final few laps. And that is pretty much it for today. That's pretty much it for this championship. And that therefore is pretty much it for me from INL. The league, as you know, is moving on to Fridays. And unfortunately, I've already got commitments on Friday, so I won't be able to continue. It's been an absolute pleasure commentating on this league this season. So thank you guys for the support you've shown on social media and on the YouTube chat as well. And hopefully I'll get a chance to commentate on these drivers soon. It is Daniel who ended up winning the championship last time around. Shapalele takes the championship, and we've seen from both of them. We've seen from Connor, we've seen from Just As, we've seen from Mr. Pop, we've seen from so many that INL Season 3 could definitely be one to watch out for on Friday afternoons. But for myself, Luke Etheridge, thank you for being with myself all year. Have a very good Christmas and New Year, and hopefully I'll get to see you guys soon. Goodbye.